The Zodiac Killer and the Mysterious Letters. San Francisco, late 1960s. The fog clung to the streets of San Francisco like a shroud, curling around the lampposts and seeping into the cracks of the city's soul. It was the late 1960s, a time when the Bay Area pulsed with the reckless energy of revolution-free love, rock anthems, and the faint whiff of rebellion in the air. But beneath the tie-dye dreams and psychedelic haze, something sinister was stirring. A predator was hunting, his shadow slipping through the neon-lit alleys and quiet lovers' lanes, leaving behind a trail of blood and riddles. He called himself the Zodiac, and his name would soon become synonymous with terror, a phantom who turned the city's hope into dread. This is the story of a killer who didn't just take lives, she toyed with an entire region, weaving a web of fear so intricate it still ensnares us today. It began on a cold December night in 1968, on a gravel-strewn turnout along Lake Herman Road in Benicia, a sleepy town just northeast of San Francisco. Betty Lou Jensen, 16, and David Faraday, 17, were high school sweethearts, their young love blooming in stolen moments away from prying eyes. They'd parked their Rambler station wagon in a secluded spot, the kind of place where teenagers whispered promises and dreamed of futures that stretched beyond the horizon. The night was quiet, the air crisp, the stars above indifferent. But someone was watching. At 11:15 p.m., a car's headlights cut through the darkness, slowing as it approached. Betty Lou and David might have thought it was just a passerby, maybe a nosy cop. They couldn't have known that death itself was stepping out of that vehicle, a figure cloaked in shadow, his footsteps crunching on the gravel. He carried a .22 caliber pistol, possibly a JC, Higgins Model 80, loaded with Winchester Western Super X copper-coated rounds. The first shots were warning blasts, shattering the car's back window, forcing the teenagers out into the open. David tried to shield Betty Lou, but the killer was methodical, relentless. He fired again, a bullet tearing through David's skull, leaving him crumpled on the ground, still breathing but fading fast. Betty Lou ran, her heart pounding, her screams swallowed by the night. She made it 28 feet before 5 bullets ripped into her back, each one a cruel punctuation mark. By the time the police arrived, the scene was a tableau of horror. 2 young lives snuffed out, their blood pooling on the cold earth, the killer long gone. The murders shocked Benicia, a town unaccustomed to such brutality. The Vallejo police scoured the scene, collecting shell casings and tire tracks, but the killer had left little else. No fingerprints, no witnesses, just the eerie sense that this was no random act. The community whispered of a madman, but the truth was far worse. This was the opening act of a nightmare that would grip Northern California for years. A killer who didn't just want to kill, he wanted to be feared, to be remembered. 7 months later, on the 4th of July, 1969, the Zodiac struck again, this time in Vallejo, at the Blue Rock Springs Park parking lot. Darlene Ferrin, 22, a vibrant young mother with a warm smile, and Michael Mageau, 19, a lanky teenager with a quiet demeanor, were sitting in Darlene's Corvair, lost in conversation. The clock ticked past midnight. The 4th of July fireworks long faded. A car pulled up, its headlights blinding, then went dark. Michael thought it was a cop, but the figure that emerged was no officer. He approached with a flashlight in one hand, a 9mm Luger in the other. Without a word, he opened fire. Bullets tore through the car, glass shattering, metal screeching. Darlene slumped over, her body riddled with 9 shots. Michael, hit 4 times, writhed in agony, his body pressed against the door. The killer turned to leave, but Michael's groans caught his attention. He returned, firing 2 more shots into each of them, as if to ensure their silence. Then he vanished into the night. Michael survived, barely. At 12:40 a.m., a call came into the Vallejo police station, traced to a gas station payphone. A low, monotonous voice spoke. "I want to report a murder. If you will go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway, you will find kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." The dispatcher's blood ran cold. This wasn't just a killer, he was a phantom claiming his work, linking himself to the Lake Herman Road murders. Darlene died at the hospital, but Michael's survival gave police their first real lead. A description of a white male, stocky, with short hair, wearing a dark jacket. Yet it wasn't enough. The killer was a ghost, slipping through their grasp. Then came the letters. On the 1st of August, 1969, 3 nearly identical envelopes arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald. Each contained a handwritten note and a piece of a 408-symbol cipher, scrawled in jagged, uneven lines. The writer claimed responsibility for the Vallejo and Benicia murders, taunting the police with details only the killer could know. The brand of ammunition, the number of shots fired, the positions of the bodies. "Dear editor," the letter began, "I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman." He demanded the ciphers be published on the front page, threatening more violence if they weren't. The Chronicle complied, printing the cipher on the 2nd of August, 1969, and the city held its breath. The cipher was a puzzle from hell, a grid of cryptic symbol triangles, circles, squares, and letters that seemed to mock the very idea of comprehension. A school teacher named Donald Hardin and his wife Betty, hunched over their kitchen table, cracked it in just 5 days. The message was chilling. "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous animal of all." The killer rambled about collecting slaves for the afterlife, his words a twisted blend of glee and madness. But the final 18 characters, Iberi Temeth Pitter, remained unsolved, a taunting riddle within a riddle. He'd promised his identity was hidden in the cipher, but all it revealed was his depravity. The Zodiac's letters kept coming, each one more unhinged, more theatrical. He adopted a signature, a circle with a crosshair, like a gun sight, a symbol that seemed to leer from the page. On the 27th of September, 1969, he struck again, this time at Lake Berryessa in Napa County. Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Shepard, 22, were picnicking on a quiet peninsula, the sun glinting off the water. A man approached, his face hidden behind a black hood adorned with the crosshair symbol, a .45 caliber pistol in his hand. He claimed he was an escaped convict, tying them up with clothesline before plunging a knife into Brian's back 6 times. Cecilia fought, but the blade found her 10 times, her screams echoing across the lake. The killer scrawled a message on Brian's car door, dates of the previous attacks, and the 27th of September 69 6:30 by knife. Then he called the Napa police, reporting his own crime from a payphone, his voice calm, almost bored. Brian survived. Cecilia died 2 days later, her last moments haunted by the hooded figure's cold efficiency. By now, the Bay Area was a cauldron of fear. The Zodiac wasn't just a killer, he was a specter, a name whispered in bars and bedrooms, a boogeyman who seemed to know the police's every move. His letters gloated about their failures, mocking their inability to catch him. On the 11th of October, 1969, he struck in San Francisco's Presidio Heights, a wealthy neighborhood that felt untouchable. Paul Stein, 29, a cab driver and doctoral candidate, picked up a fare at Mason and Geary Streets. The passenger directed him to Washington and Maple Streets, then shot him in the head at point-blank range with a 9mm. The killer tore off a piece of Stein's blood-soaked shirt, took his wallet and keys, and melted into the night. 3 teenagers across the street saw a stocky white man, about 5'8", with glasses and a crew cut, wiping down the cab before fleeing. Police arrived minutes later, but a dispatcher error sent them searching for a black suspect, letting the killer slip away. 3 days later, the Chronicle received a letter that turned the city's fear into panic. "This is the Zodiac speaking," it began. Enclosed was a blood-stained scrap of Stein's shirt, proof of his guilt. He claimed responsibility for the cab driver's murder and taunted the police. "School children make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning. Just shoot out the front tire and then pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out." Parents kept their children home. Bus drivers carried guns. The Zodiac had turned San Francisco into a city under siege, his words a poison that seeped into every home. The letters kept coming, each one a fresh wound. On the 8th of November, 1969, he sent the 340 character cipher, a cryptographic labyrinth that would baffle experts for decades. He demanded it be published, relishing the chaos it caused. On the 22nd of October, a man claiming to be the Zodiac called into KGO, TV's AM San Francisco, speaking to attorney Melvin Belli. "I'm not afraid of the gas chamber," he said, his voice eerie, detached. Police later determined it was a mental patient named Eric Weil, not the killer, but the call only deepened the myth. The Zodiac was everywhere and nowhere, a shadow that could be anyone. By 1970, the killing slowed, but the letters continued, each one dripping with menace. In the 26th of June letter, he claimed he'd shot a man in a parked car with a .38, possibly SFPD Sergeant Richard Raditich. Though police dismissed the connection, he included a Phillips 66 roadmap and a cipher, claiming they revealed a bomb's location at Mount Diablo. The cipher, labeled Z32, remains unsolved, its secrets locked away. In 1974, the letters stopped, the Zodiac vanishing as abruptly as he'd appeared. He claimed 37 victims, though only 5 murders and 2 attempted murders are confirmed. Cherry Joe Bates, killed in Riverside in 1966, and Donna Lass, who vanished in 1970, are often linked, but the connections are shaky. The police chased thousands of leads, over 2,500 suspects by 2009. Arthur Lee Allen, a Vallejo schoolteacher and convicted sex offender, became the prime suspect. His cryptic comments, fascination with ciphers, and a Zodiac Seawolf watch with the crosshair logo raised suspicions. A 1,991 search of his home found pipe bombs and writings, but no definitive evidence. Allen died in 1992, his secrets buried with him. In 2021, the Case Breakers, a team of cold case investigators, named Gary Francis Post, an Air Force veteran who died in 2018, as the killer, citing anagrams and circumstantial evidence. The FBI and police dismissed it. The case still open, the truth still out of reach. The Zodiac ciphers are his darkest legacy. The 408 was solved in 1969, the 340 in 2020, revealing a taunting message. "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner." 2 ciphers, the 18-character tale of the 408 and the 32-character Z32 remain unsolved. Their secrets, a final middle finger to the world. Cryptographers call them the holy grail of code breaking, second only to the Voynich manuscript. The Zodiac promised his name was in there, but perhaps he lied, laughing as we chase shadows. San Francisco in the late 60s was a city of dreams, but the Zodiac turned it into a nightmare. He didn't just kill, he performed. Each murder a scene in his twisted play, each letter a script meant to terrify. His crosshair symbol still haunts, a reminder of a killer who walked among us, unseen, untouchable. Was he Arthur Lee Allen, grinning behind his glasses? Gary Post, painting houses while plotting death? Or someone else, still out there, watching from the fog? The Bay Area holds its breath, waiting for answers that may never come. The Zodiac's laughter echoes through the decades, a chilling reminder that some monsters are never caught, and some riddles are never solved. The fog rolled thicker over San Francisco in 1969, curling through the streets like a serpent, whispering secrets no one could decipher. The Zodiac killer had sunk his claws into the Bay Area's psyche, his murders chilling, his letters electrifying. The city was no longer just a stage for free love and rebellion. It was a chessboard, and the Zodiac was the unseen grandmaster, moving his pieces with a smirk. His cipher-those cryptic, jagged puzzle shad become the talk of every diner, every newsroom, every smoky bar. They weren't just codes, they were a dare, a seductive taunt that pulled everyone into his game. Part 2 of this twisted tale dives into the feverish hunt for the Zodiac, the electric highs of near breakthroughs, and the gut-punch lows of dead ends, as a city teetered on the edge of obsession. The summer of '69 was a pressure cooker. The Zodiac's first cipher, the 408, had been cracked by Donald and Betty Hardin, a Salinas schoolteacher and his wife, in a frenzy of pencil scratches and coffee-fueled nights. Their solution, published in the San Francisco Chronicle on the 8th of August, 1969, sent shivers down spines. "I like killing people because it is so much fun. Man is the most dangerous animal of all." The words were a window into a mind unhinged, gleeful, sadistic. But the final 18 characters, Iboriat meth pittas stubbornly refused to yield. Cryptographers, amateur sleuths, even mathematicians from Stanford poured over them, chasing the killer's promised identity. Was it a name? A phrase? Or just gibberish? A cruel joke to waste their time? The Chronicle's mailroom buzzed with letters from readers, each claiming to have cracked it, their solutions ranging from plausible to unhinged. The Zodiac had turned San Francisco into a city of codebreakers, all chasing his shadow. Then, on the 7th of August, 1969, a new letter arrived at the Vallejo Times-Herald, dripping with arrogance. "This is the Zodiac speaking," it began, the phrase now infamous, a chilling signature. For the first time, he gave himself a name, one that echoed like a villain from a pulp novel. He detailed the Vallejo murders Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday on Lake Herman Road, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau at Blue Rock Springs with a precision that made reporters' stomachs churn. He described the flashlight taped to his gun, the 9mm Luger's kick, the way Darlene's body slumped. Only the killer could know these things. The letter was a performance, a spotlight on his cunning, and it sent the newsroom into a frenzy. Editor George Murphy chain-smoked as he read it aloud to his staff, their faces pale. The Zodiac wasn't just killing, he was directing a horror show, and they were all unwilling actors. The police were drowning. Vallejo PD's Detective Sergeant John Lynch, a grizzled vet with a permanent scowl, led the charge, but the leads were thin. Michael Mageau's description white male, stocky, short hair, maybe 5'8", was maddeningly vague, matching half the men in Northern California. The tire tracks from Lake Herman Road, the shell casings from Blue Rock Springs, the payphone traced to a gas station on Springs Road all pointed nowhere. San Francisco PD's Inspector Dave Toski, a sharp-dressed cop with a knack for publicity, joined the hunt, his desk buried under files. Toshi's partner, Bill Armstrong, was quieter, methodical, his eyes scanning every report for a clue. They interviewed hundreds, from Darlene's ex-husband to local drifters, but the Zodiac was a phantom, always one step ahead. Then came Lake Berryessa, the 27th of September, 1969, a day that pushed the terror to new heights. The sun was warm, the lake a mirror of calm. As Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard spread a blanket on a quiet peninsula, they were college kids, their laughter soft, their touches lingering, unaware that eyes were watching from the trees. A figure emerged, his presence jarring against the idyllic scene. He wore a black hood, square-topped like an executioner's, with a white crosshair symbol stitched across the chest. Sunglasses hid his eyes, a .45 caliber pistol gleamed in his hand. His voice was steady, almost polite, as he claimed to be an escaped convict needing money and a car. Brian, ever the peacemaker, offered his wallet, his keys, anything. The man tied them up with clothesline, his movements deliberate, theatrical. Then, without warning, he dropped the act. The knife came out, long and glinting, and the air turned to ice. Brian begged, his voice cracking, but the Zodiac was deaf to mercy. He stabbed Brian 6 times, each thrust a sickening thud, blood soaking the blanket. Cecilia screamed, fighting against her bonds, but the blade found he 10 reals times, her body jerking with each strike. The killer stood, wiping his knife, then scrawled a message on Brian's white Carmen Ghia. Vallejo, 12-20 -6/8, -4 -69, Sep 27-69 -6, 30, by knife. He walked away, calm as a man leaving a diner. At 7:40 p.m., a call came into the Napa County Sheriff's Office from a payphone in downtown Napa. "I want to report a murder, a double murder," the voice said, low and mocking. "I'm the one who did it." Deputies raced to the lake, finding Brian barely alive, Cecilia slipping away. She died 2 days later at Queen of the Valley Hospital. Her final words, a plea for justice. The Bay Area reeled. The Zodiac's costume, that hooded nightmare, was straight out of a comic book, yet terrifyingly real. Sketches flooded the Chronicle's front page, the crosshair symbol now a citywide boogeyman. Bars emptied early, lovers' lanes went silent, and parents locked their doors. The killer's theatricality, his hood, his ciphers, his letters made him more than a murderer. He was a myth, a shadow you could feel but never touch. The police doubled patrols, but the Zodiac was a ghost, his laughter echoing in every unanswered question. Then, on the 11th of October, 1969, he struck in the heart of San Francisco, a city that thought itself untouchable. Paul Stine, a 29-year-old cab driver with dreams of a PhD, picked up a fare at Mason and Geary Streets. The man, stocky, with a crew cut and glasses, directed him to Washington and Maple in Presidio Heights, an upscale enclave of manicured lawns and quiet wealth. At 9:55 p.m., a single 9mm shot rang out, muffled by the city's hum. The passenger leaned over, firing point blank into Stine's temple, blood spraying across the dashboard. He tore off a piece of Stine's shirt, soaked red, and took his wallet and keys. 3 teenagers across the street, Rebecca, James, and Lindsay, watched from a window, their hearts pounding as the man wiped down the cab with a cloth, his movements eerily calm. He walked away, disappearing into the Presidio's shadowed trees. Police were on the scene in minutes, the night alive with sirens. Officers Don Fouquet and Eric Zelms, patrolling nearby, spotted a white male matching the teen's description, 5'8", 160 pounds, glasses, dark jacket, walking on Jackson Street. But a dispatcher's error, crackling over the radio, said the suspect was black. Fuchs slowed, eyed the man, and drove on. The killer slipped away, the city's best chance evaporating into the fog. The teen's composite sketch, published days later, was haunting. A round face, heavy brows, a man who could be your neighbor, your coworker, your friend. On the 14th of October, the Chronicle received a letter that turned fear into hysteria. "This is the Zodiac speaking," it read, the blood-stained scrap of Stine's shirt enclosed like a trophy. The words were a gut punch. "I am the murderer of the taxi driver over by Washington Saint and Maple Saint last night. To prove this, here is a blood-stained piece of his shirt." Then came the line that froze the city. "School children make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning. Just shoot out the front tire and then pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out." Schools locked down, parents armed themselves, bus drivers scanned every car that lingered too long. The Zodiac had weaponized words, turning every yellow bus into a potential coffin. The city was electric with panic, but also with a strange, morbid excitement. The Chronicle's circulation soared, readers devouring every word about the killer. Amateur sleuths flooded police tip lines, their theories wild. A disgraced cop, a military cryptographer, a professor gone mad. Toshi and Armstrong sifted through thousands of leads, their eyes bloodshot, their desks chaotic. A suspect emerged. Arthur Lee Allen, a Vallejo schoolteacher with a dark past. Allen, 35, was burly, bespectacled, with a creepy fascination with ciphers and a Zodiac Seawolf watch, its crosshair logo glaring. A tipster, Don Cheney, claimed Allen had boasted about hunting couples and writing coded letters. Police searched his trailer in 1972, finding knives, guns, and a typewriter, but no smoking gun. Allen grinned through interrogations, his alibi shaky but unshaken. He was a tantalizing lead, but the case stayed cold. The high came on the 8th of November, 1969, when the Zodiac sent his masterpiece, the 340 character cipher, a dense grid of symbols that made the 408 look like child's play. The Chronicle published it, and the city dove in, mathematicians and hobbyists alike racing to crack it. The FBI's cryptology unit, NSA analysts, even CIA codebreakers took a stab, but the cipher was a black hole, swallowing every attempt. Was it his name? A map to his next victim? The promise of answers drove the city mad. The cipher, a siren song that kept them hooked. The Zodiac reveled in it, his next letter, on the 9th of November, gloating, "The police shall never catch me, because I have been too clever for them." He included a crude diagram of a bomb, claiming it was hidden to blow up a school bus. Police scoured Mount Diablo, guided by his cryptic Phillips 66 map, but found nothing. The bomb, like the cipher, was a tease, a spark to keep the city burning. The climax hit on the 22nd of October, 1969, when a man claiming to be the Zodiac called KGO, TV's AM San Francisco, hosted by Jim Dunbar, attorney Melvin Belli, a flamboyant legal star, took the call live, the nation watching. "I need help," the caller said, his voice soft, eerie. "I don't want to go to the gas chamber." He called himself Sam, promising to meet Belli at a Daly City mall. Thousands tuned in, hearts racing, as police staked out the meeting spot. The caller never showed. Later, they traced the call to Eric Weil, a mental patient at Napa State Hospital, not the killer. The letdown was crushing, the city's hope deflated. The Zodiac had played them again, his laughter echoing through the airwaves. The resolution wasn't clean, but it was real. By 1970, the murders slowed. The letters grew sporadic. The 340 cipher stayed unsolved, a taunting relic, until the 5th of December, 2020, when a team led by David Orenchak cracked it. "I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner." No name, no address, just more bravado. The Z32 cipher and the 408's final 18 characters remain locked, their secrets a middle finger to the world. Arthur Lee Allen died in 1992, never charged. Gary Francis Post, named by the casebreakers in 2021, was another dead end. The FBI unmoved. The Zodiac's crosshair still looms, a symbol of a killer who turned fear into art. San Francisco picked up the pieces, but the scars linger. The city forever haunted by a man who danced in the fog, just out of reach. San Francisco in 1970 was a city caught in a fever dream, its pulse quickened by the Zodiac killer's shadow. The fog that draped the Bay Area felt heavier now, laced with the weight of unanswered questions and unspoken fears. The killer's letters, those venomous love notes to a terrified public, had slowed but not stopped, each one a spark that reignited the city's obsession. His ciphers, cryptic, maddening, seductive, were no longer just puzzles. They were a siren's call, luring cops, reporters, and armchair detectives into a maze with no exit. The Zodiac wasn't just a murderer, he was a maestro, conducting a symphony of chaos that kept Northern California on edge. Part 3 of this chilling saga plunges into the killer's elusive final act, the electrifying near misses that promised closure, and the haunting realization that some monsters slip away forever, leaving only riddles in their wake. The year began with a deceptive calm. The murders seemingly paused after Paul Stein's brutal execution in Presidio Heights. But the Zodiac hadn't gone quiet, was merely changing tempo. On the 22nd of March, 1970, a new letter arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle, its tone as taunting as ever. "This is the Zodiac speaking," it declared, claiming responsibility for a chilling new crime, the abduction of Kathleen Johns, a 23-year-old mother from Vallejo. On the 20th of March, Kathleen had been driving along Highway 132 near Modesto with her infant daughter when a car flashed its lights behind her. A man, white, stocky glasses, crew cut, pulled alongside, gesturing that her wheel was wobbling. She pulled over, trusting his offer to help. He tinkered under her car, then drove off. When Kathleen tried to start again, her wheel nearly fell off, sabotaged. The man returned, offering a ride to a gas station. Instead, he drove her and her baby through back roads for hours, his silence icy, his intentions unclear. Kathleen's heart pounded, her daughter's soft cries the only sound. At a chance moment, she leapt from the car with her child, hiding in a ditch as the man searched, flashlight in hand. He vanished, and Kathleen flagged down a trucker. Her car was later found torched, a blackened husk. The Zodiac's letter gloated. "I gave her a rather interesting ride for about 2 hours." Police were skeptical Kathleen's story, had inconsistencies, but the terror was real, the killer's shadow lengthening. The letter didn't stop there. It included a new tally, Zodiac 10, SFPD 0, a mocking scoreboard that claimed more victims than the confirmed 5. Was he bluffing, inflating his ego, or were there bodies yet to be found, hidden in the redwood forests or sunken in the bay? The Chronicle's newsroom buzzed, reporter Paul Avery chain-smoking as he pored over the letter's jagged handwriting. Avery, a dogged journalist with a knack for crime, had become the Zodiac's unwilling pen pal, his byline a lightning rod for the killer's taunts. The letter's final line was a gut punch. There is more glory in killing a cop than a Sid civilian, so I'll try for one soon. San Francisco's police, already stretched thin, bristled. Patrol cars doubled up. Officers scanned every alley with itchy trigger fingers. The Zodiac had turned the hunters into prey. Then, on the 20th of April, 1970, the Zodiac upped the stakes with a letter that oozed theatrical menace. Enclosed was a 13-character cipher Z13, a short, brutal tease. My name is __________. The blanks taunted, daring the world to fill them. The letter demanded the Chronicle publish a Zodiac button for people to wear, a perverse merchandising of his brand. I've got a little list, he wrote, and you're all on it. The cipher consumed cryptographers, its brevity a paradox too short to crack definitively, yet long enough to fuel endless theories. Was it Alfred E. Newman, the Mad Magazine mascot, as some speculated? Or Robert Emmet, a nod to an Irish rebel? The FBI's codebreakers in Quantico threw up their hands, the cipher a locked box. The button idea was ignored, but the letter's audacity electrified the city. Bars on Haight Street hummed with debates, patrons sketching ciphers on napkins, half drunk and half obsessed. The Zodiac was no longer just a killer, he was a cultural virus, infecting every conversation. The high came on the 26th of June, 1970, when a letter arrived with a map and a bombshell. The Zodiac claimed he'd shot a man in a parked car in San Francisco, possibly SFPD Sergeant Richard Radetich, gunned down on the 19th of June at Haight and Waller Streets with a .38. The police dismissed the link. Radetich's murder seemed unrelated, likely a gang hit, but the letter's details were chillingly precise. Enclosed was a Phillips 66 roadmap of the Bay Area, marked with a crosshair at Mount Diablo's peak. A 32-character cipher, Z32, accompanied it, claiming to reveal a bomb's location, rigged to blow up a school bus with kiddies in it. The map's instructions were cryptic, involving radians and magnetic north, terms that sent mathematicians and surveyors scrambling. Police, led by Inspector Dave Toshi, scoured Mount Diablo's trails, their boots crunching on dry earth, their eyes scanning for tripwires. The Chronicle ran the map, and readers turned amateur bomb hunters, flooding tip lines with sightings of suspicious pipes. The tension was unbearable, every school bus a potential target, every parent's nightmare vivid. The city held its breath, but the bomb was a phantom, another of the Zodiac's cruel games. Toshi, his fedora tilted, cursed under his breath, his desk buried under false leads. His partner, Bill Armstrong, pored over the Z32 cipher, its symbol squares, triangles, backward letters, a taunting riddle. Cryptographers at Berkeley theorized it used a Polybius square or a homophonic substitution, but every solution fizzled. The cipher's brevity, like Z13's, was its armor, defying even the NSA's computers. The school bus threat faded, no bomb found, but the fear lingered, a slow poison. The Zodiac had proven he didn't need to kill to terrify, could do it with words, with symbols, with the promise of chaos. Then, on the 5th of October, 1970, Paul Avery received a letter that hit too close to home. Postmarked in San Francisco, it was a Halloween card, its skeleton grinning under the crosshair symbol. Inside, a scrawled message. Peekaboo, you are doomed. The card's imagery bones, eyes, a cryptic 14, was a macabre masterpiece. Avery, usually unflappable, felt a chill. Was this a death threat? A prank? The Chronicle's editor, John McCabe, sent the card to the FBI, who confirmed it was genuine, the handwriting matching the Zodiac's. Avery started carrying a .38 revolver, his eyes scanning every stranger in the newsroom. The card was a high note in the killer's performance, a personal jab that made the hunt feel intimate, dangerous, thrilling. Readers devoured the story, their fascination morbid but undeniable. Avery became a folk hero, the reporter who stared down a monster, his byline now legend. The climax arrived on the 27th of October, 1970, with the Exorcist letter, a sprawling, blank, unhinged missive that pushed the Zodiac's theatrics to new heights. Named for its reference to the upcoming horror film, the letter claimed a body count of 14, taunting, I'm waiting for a good movie about me. Who will play me? It included a new cipher fragment, a taunting scribble, and a chilling claim. The Zodiac was now killing undetected, his murders disguised as accidents or suicides. You'll never find them, he wrote, because I'm too clever. The letter's tone was manic, almost gleeful, as if the killer was drunk on his own myth. Toshi and Armstrong felt the case slipping away, the Zodiac evolving from a killer into a specter. The Chronicle published excerpts, and the city buzzed with speculation. Was he a cop, hiding in plain sight? A professor, weaving ciphers in a dusty office? The letter's bravado was a crescendo, the killer at his most untouchable. Then, a lead electrified the investigation. In early 1971, a tipster named Don Chaney contacted Vallejo PD, pointing to Arthur Lee Allen, a former schoolteacher with a sinister edge. Chaney claimed Allen had bragged in 1968 about hunting couples, writing ciphers, and calling himself Zodiac. Allen, 37, was a hulking figure, 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, with a crew cut and thick glasses. He wore a Zodiac Seawolf watch, its crosshair logo a glaring red flag. His rap sheet included a 1,966 molestation charge, and his trailer in Santa Rosa was a hoarder's den of knives, guns, and cryptic notes. Toshi and Armstrong interrogated him in August 1971, their pulses racing. Allen was evasive, his smile unsettling. His Libya fishing trip during the Stein murder flimsy. A search of his home found a typewriter, a bloody knife, and pipe bomb diagrams, but no direct link to the killings. Handwriting samples didn't match. Fingerprints were inconclusive. Allen walked free, the case's best suspects slipping through their fingers. The high of the lead crashed into despair, Toshi slamming his fist on his desk, the Zodiac's laughter echoing in his mind. The resolution was slow, unsatisfying, but undeniable. By 1974, the letters stopped, the Zodiac vanishing like smoke. A final missive, the Red Phantom letter, on the 8th of July, 1974, railed against a Chronicle columnist but offered no ciphers, no kills. Was he dead? In prison? Or simply bored? His game played out? The confirmed murders: Betty Lou Jensen, David Faraday, Darlene Farron, Cecilia Shepard, Paul Stein remained 5, with 2 survivors, Michael Mageau and Brian Hartnell. The Zodiac claimed 37, but only Kathleen Johns' abduction and the possible link to Cherry Joe Bates in Riverside, 1,966, added weight. The ciphers, Z13, Z32, the 408's final 18 stayed unsolved, their secrets a taunt. In 2020, the 340 cipher fell, revealing only more bravado. I am not afraid of the gas chamber. Arthur Lee Allen died in 1992, uncharged. The Casebreakers' 2021 claim of Gary Francis Post fizzled, the FBI unmoved. San Francisco moved on, but the Zodiac spell lingered. The crosshair symbol became a dark icon, etched into true crime lore. Paul Avery retired, his revolver long holstered, but his stories still haunted bars on Market Street. Toshi left the force in 1987, the case his white whale. The city's obsession faded, but never died, reignited by books, films, and Reddit threads. The Zodiac was a seducer, his mystery a lover's promise never kept. Was he watching from a dive bar, chuckling at the chaos, or buried in an unmarked grave, his secrets dust? The fog still curls through San Francisco, whispering his name, a riddle that keeps us chasing, forever enthralled. San Francisco in the mid-1970s was a city trying to shake off a nightmare, its streets still humming with the echoes of a killer who called himself the Zodiac. The fog that blanketed the Bay Area seemed to carry his presence, a ghostly reminder of murders, ciphers, and letters that had held Northern California in a chokehold. The killings had stopped, or so it seemed, but the Zodiac's shadow lingered, his silence louder than his taunts. His crosshair symbol, that chilling circle with a cross, was no longer just a signature. It was a brand burned into the city's soul, a riddle that refused to be solved. Part 4 of this electrifying saga dives into the Zodiac's vanishing act, the tantalizing clues that sparked hope, and the maddening dead ends that left a city and a nation haunted. This is a tale of obsession, of a phantom who danced just out of reach, leaving a legacy that still beckons us to chase him. The year 1974 marked a turning point, or so the city hoped. The last confirmed Zodiac letter, the Red Phantom Missive of the 8th of July, 1974, was a rant against a San Francisco Chronicle columnist, lacking the ciphers or kill claims of old. It felt like a curtain call, the killer bowing out after a decade of terror. But San Francisco wasn't ready to let go. The Chronicle's newsroom, still littered with cigarette butts and coffee stains, buzzed with whispers. Was he dead? In jail? Or lurking in plain sight, sipping bourbon in a North Beach bar, smirking at his own myth? Reporter Paul Avery, now a grizzled veteran of the Zodiac beat, kept a file of every letter, every cipher. His desk, a shrine to the case. Inspector Dave Tashi, his fedora now creased with time, carried the weight of 2,500 suspects, each one a flicker of hope snuffed out. The city wanted closure, but the Zodiac had other plans. Then, on the 29th of January, 1974, a letter arrived that sent pulses racing. Mailed to the Chronicle, it was classic Zodiac jagged handwriting, taunting tone, and a reference to the SLA, Symbionese Liberation Army, tying it to the era's radical unrest. "I'm back," it seemed to scream, though it lacked the crosshair symbol. It praised the new horror film The Exorcist as the best satirical comedy, the misspelling a chilling echo of past letters. The letter claimed a body count of 37, far beyond the confirmed 5 murders: Betty Lou Jensen, David Faraday, Darlene Ferrin, Cecilia Shepard, Paul Steinand, 2 survivors, Michael Mageau and Brian Hartnell. It ended with a cryptic poem, Tidwillow, 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 a nod to a 19th century play, or another of his maddening riddles. The FBI's handwriting experts confirmed it was genuine, and the city snapped to attention. Toshi, his eyes bloodshot, stormed into the Chronicle's office, demanding Avery's take. Was this the Zodiac's encore, or a copycat stealing the spotlight? The letter was a spark in a tinderbox. San Francisco's fear reignited, but it was laced with a strange, seductive excitement. Bars on Polk Street overflowed with debates, patrons sketching the crosshair symbol on coasters, their voices rising with each beer. The Chronicle's circulation spiked, readers hooked on the killer's drama. Amateur sleuths flooded police tip lines with theories. A disgraced cryptographer from Berkeley, a sailor docked at Treasure Island, even a politician with a shady past. Toshi and his partner, Bill Armstrong, now estranged by the case's toll, chased every lead. A tip pointed to a Vallejo loner, Rick Marshall, a projectionist at the Avenue Theater with a penchant for ciphers and a creepy demeanor. His handwriting was close, his alibi weak, but the evidence was circumstantial, another mirage. The high of the new letter faded, the city left grasping at shadows. Then came a twist that felt like fate. In 1975, a cold case in Riverside, California, resurfaced, sending shockwaves north. On the 30th of October, 1966, Cherry Joe Bates, an 18-year-old freshman at Riverside City College, was found stabbed to death in an alley near the library. Her Volkswagen's distributor coil had been sabotaged, forcing her to accept a ride from her killer. The brutality, her throat slashed, her body riddled with knife wounds, mirrored the Zodiac's sadism. 6 months later, in April 1967, Riverside police received a typed confession, unsigned but chilling. Bates had to die. There will be more. On the 29th of November, 1970, a Riverside Enterprise article linked the case to the Zodiac, citing handwriting similarities in letters sent to the press. The Chronicle's Paul Avery, sniffing a scoop, drove to Riverside, his .38 revolver tucked in his coat. He met Riverside PD's detective Steve Shumway, who shared a bombshell, a poem carved into a library desk at RCC, discovered months after Bates' murder, bore handwriting eerily close to the Zodiac's plaques. Titled "Sick of Living, Unwilling to Die," it described a murder with chilling detail. Blood spurting, dripping, spilling. Avery's story, published on the 16th of November, 1970, was a sensation, linking the Zodiac to Southern California. The Riverside letter, confession, and poem were sent to the FBI, who confirmed a probable match to the Zodiac's handwriting. The case was a thread that could unravel the killer's past. Toshi flew to Riverside, his pulse racing, interviewing Bates's friends, her ex-boyfriend, even a janitor who found the poem. A suspect emerged, a local man, Bob Barnett, a pseudonym, with a violent streak and a shaky alibi. But his fingerprints didn't match. His handwriting was off. The lead fizzled, the connection to the Zodiac tantalizing but unproven. Riverside PD kept the case open, but San Francisco's hope dimmed. The killer's reach growing ever wider, ever vaguer. The tension peaked in 1978, when a new letter jolted the city awake. Mailed to the Chronicle on the 24th of April, it was a masterclass in Zodiac bravado. "This is the Zodiac speaking. I am back with you. I have always been here." It mocked Toshi, claiming he'd never catch me because I am too smart. The letter's handwriting was a near-perfect match, but a twist emerged. Toshi himself was suspected of forging it. A whistleblower claimed Toshi had written fan letters to himself, inflating his fame. The SFPD investigated, and Toshi admitted to writing fan letters about himself but denied the Zodiac forgery. He was pulled from the case, his reputation tarnished, his desk cleared. The letter's authenticity remains debated, but its impact was undeniable. It was a crescendo, the Zodiac or someone reclaiming the stage. The city was electrified, newsstands sold out, and true crime buffs swarmed, their notebooks filled with theories. Was it really him? Or had the Zodiac's myth grown so large it spawned imposters? The investigation spiraled, leads piling up like autumn leaves. In 1981, a tipster named Ralph Spinelli, a convicted felon, claimed the Zodiac was Arthur Lee Allen. The Vallejo schoolteacher flagged in 1971. Spinelli said Allen confessed in 1969, planning to kill with a silenced rifle. Allen, now 48, was searched again in 1982. His Santa Rosa home-yielding guns, ciphers, and a typewriter, but no smoking gun. His health was failing diabetes, heart issues, but his smirk was intact. Toshi, now a private investigator, begged for a DNA test, but Allen's prints and handwriting didn't match. He died in 1992, uncharged, his Seawolf watch with its crosshair logo, a haunting taunt. The high of Spinelli's tip crashed, the case colder than ever. Then, in 1986, a book reignited the fire. Robert Graysmith, a former Chronicle cartoonist turned obsessive, published Zodiac, a gripping account of the case. Graysmith named Allen as the prime suspect, weaving a narrative so vivid it felt like truth. The book was a sensation, climbing bestseller lists, its pages dog-eared in every Bay Area coffee shop. Graysmith's talks at bookstores drew crowds, his theories Allen ciphers, his Navy training, his creepy fascination with the most dangerous game fueling a new wave of amateur sleuths. The Chronicle ran excerpts, and Hollywood took notice, with David Fincher's 2007 film Zodiac cementing the case in pop culture. The book was a high, a moment when the killer felt close, his face almost clear, but Graysmith's evidence was circumstantial, his conclusions divisive. Police scoffed, calling it speculation. The resolution was bitter. The book solved nothing, but it kept the Zodiac alive, a ghost in every reader's mind. By the 1990s, the case was a labyrinth of dead ends. The confirmed murders stayed at 5, the ciphers Z13, Z32, the 408's final 18, unsolved. In 2009, Deborah Perez, a real estate agent, claimed her father, Guy Ward Hendrickson, was the Zodiac, citing childhood memories of bloody knives. The FBI dismissed it, her story crumbling. In 2018, a man named Gary Stewart claimed his father, Earl Van Best Jr., was the killer, based on a memoir and a cipher anagram. Again, no proof. The Casebreakers' 2021 push for Gary Francis Post, an Air Force veteran, gained traction with anagrams and scars matching survivor sketches, but the FBI stood firm, no match. The ciphers, especially Z13, mocked from their frames, their secrets locked. Even the 340's 2020 solution, I am not afraid of the gas, chamber offered no name, no closure. The final act was no act at all, just silence. The Zodiac's letters stopped, his kills unproven after 1970. Was he dead, his bones rotting in a forgotten grave? Or alive, a gray-haired man in a Sacramento suburb, chuckling at Dateline reruns? The crosshair symbol haunts, spray-painted on Oakland walls, whispered in true crime podcasts. San Francisco rebuilt, its scars hidden under tech wealth, but the Zodiac spell endures. Paul Avery died in 2000, his revolver long sold. Toshi passed in 2018, his fedora in a museum. The Chronicle still gets tips, each one a flicker of hope. The ciphers sit in FBI vaults, their symbols daring us to try again. This isn't the end it can't be. The Zodiac's riddle is a lover's promise, half kept, pulling us back. Is his name in Z13, waiting for a genius to unlock it? Is his final victim out there, buried in Napa's hills? The fog still curls through the bay, whispering his name, urging us to chase. Want to know what's next? The Zodiac's secrets aren't done with us. Tune into our channel for the next chapter, where we unravel the clues he left and the ones he might still be hiding. The hunt isn't over, and neither is the thrill.